Hey everyone, this is U.S. immigration lawyer Michael Ashoori, and in today's video, I'm going to go over some red flags that an immigration officer may notice if you're applying for a marriage-based green card. So if you're planning on applying for a marriage-based green card, this is definitely a video that you want to watch, so make sure to stick around. Hi everyone, my name is Michael Ashoori, and I'm a U.S. immigration lawyer based in Los Angeles, California. At my law firm, we regularly post videos to make sure that you're up to date with the latest immigration news and just to help you with helpful immigration tips and updates. So if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button now. Also, please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up so that YouTube knows to share this information with more people. So as I mentioned in today's video, we're going to go over some red flags that an immigration officer may notice if you're planning on applying for a marriage-based green card. So as a quick background, you should know that somebody can apply for their green card based on being married to a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident, a green card holder. And one of the most important parts of this process and one of the most important requirements is that the couple needs to show that they're in a bona fide marriage. This means that at the time the couple got married, they truly intended to build a life with one another. So with that quick overview, I want to go over some red flags. What I mean by this is I want to go over some things, some factors that, if present, could cause an immigration officer to raise their eyebrow and to question the case and to maybe look a little bit deeper into the case. Now, an important point that I want to mention is that if there's a red flag with your case, it doesn't mean that your case is going to be denied. It just means that you should be aware that this is a red flag and you should be prepared to file a strong case with strong documentation, making it very clear that you and your spouse are truly in a bona fide marriage, meaning that you and your spouse truly intended to build a life with one another when you got married. So without further ado, let's go over these red flags. Red flag number one is if you and your spouse have a major age difference. So if you and your spouse have a 20 or more year age gap, you should be prepared to make it clear to the immigration officer that you're truly in a bona fide marriage. Because again, as I mentioned, the age gap could be a red flag that causes the immigration officer to just be curious about the case a little bit more. The second red flag that I want to go over in today's video is not living together. If you and your spouse do not live together, it's a red flag. You should be prepared to explain why you don't live together. And you should be prepared to explain that even though you and your spouse don't live together, you're still in a bona fide marriage. Now, the third important red flag that I want to go over is if you and your spouse do not share a common language. Now, think about it like this from the standpoint of an immigration officer. If you and your spouse do not have a language that you both speak in common, the immigration officer is going to wonder, how do they communicate? If they have a hard time communicating, how could they be in a bona fide marriage? So you should be prepared to explain this if you and your spouse do not share a common language. Now, let's move on to red flag number 4. And this is if you and your spouse do not have strong documentation evidencing a shared life together. So as I mentioned earlier in this video, we talked about how one of the most important requirements for getting a marriage-based green card is being able to demonstrate that you and your spouse are in a bona fide marriage, meaning that you and your spouse intended to build a life together when you both got married. Well, one of the ways that we demonstrate that you and your spouse have a bona fide marriage is through the documentation that we provide in your case. The documentation that I'm talking about is commonly referred to as joint documents. What I mean by this, some examples of joint documents are evidence of a shared bank account, evidence of photographs together showing that you and your spouse traveled the world together maybe, or you and your spouse took vacations together, or photographs of you and your spouse spending time with each other's family. Other evidence of joint documents include utility bills with both of your names on them, perhaps a Costco membership with both of your names on it, a cell phone bill with both of your names on it. Other examples are perhaps a lease with both of your names on it, or a deed to property with both of your names on it. These are all examples of joint documentation. And as you can imagine, when an immigration officer sees these joint documents, it's further proof that you and your spouse are in a bona fide marriage. So a red flag is if you do not have this type of documentation. So again, it's very important when applying for a marriage-based green card to have strong documentation of sharing a life with one another. Like I mentioned earlier, like a joint bank account. And by the way, not to go too much on a tangent, but if you and your spouse do have a joint bank account with one another, you should actually use that bank account. It shouldn't just be a bank account that isn't used. It should be a bank account that you use to pay bills with and you deposit money into that account. So I know that was a long explanation for red flag number 4, but let's keep it moving. We have 2 more red flags to go over. And both of these red flags have to do with somebody's immigration history. So let's go right into red flag number 5. And this red flag, again, as I mentioned, it has to do with somebody having a weird immigration history. And the specific example that I want to mention is if somebody gets married and their spouse applies for their green card, so they get their green card, and very shortly after they get their green card, they divorce their spouse and then get married to somebody else and petition for that new spouse's green card. This scenario is a red flag. Again, just to repeat, somebody gets petitioned to get their green card, and shortly after they get their green card, they divorce their spouse that petitioned for them, and they get remarried to somebody else and petition for that new spouse's green card. That's a red flag that somebody should be prepared to explain. And the last red flag that I want to go over in today's video has to do with a similar situation as example number 5, but a little bit different. And this example is if somebody petitions for their spouse and their spouse gets a green card, then they divorce that spouse and then they get remarried to somebody else and petition for that second spouse's green card. So it's similar to example number 5, but a little bit different. And again, that can also be a red flag that the couple should be prepared to explain. So I know we went over a lot of information in this video, but as a quick overview, we went over 6 red flags. Red flag number 1 was a major age difference. Red flag number 2 was if you and your spouse do not live together. Red flag number 3 is if you don't share a common language with one another. Red flag number 4 was if you do not have strong documentation showing a shared life with one another. Red flag number 5 was the situation where somebody gets their green card because their spouse that was either a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident petitioned for them. And then once they got their green card, they divorced their spouse, and then they married somebody else and petitioned for their green card. And example number 6 was the situation where somebody petitions for their spouse to get a green card, and then divorces that spouse, and then gets remarried, and then petitions for somebody else's green card. So there you have it, 6 red flags. Again, I want to mention that if these scenarios apply to you, I don't want you to think automatically that your case is not going to get approved. What I want you to think is that these are just things that are going to make an immigration officer look a little bit closer into your case, and you want to be prepared to explain these situations. So again, I hope you found this information very helpful. If you know anybody that could benefit from this information, please make sure to share this video with them. We're all about empowering you with knowledge, so the more people that could watch this video that could benefit from this information, the better. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the next video.